2NURFM, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.
I find this totally amazing. We're talking this morning about your breath, and it's like that police song, isn't it? You know, every move you make, every breath you take.
They're watching you.
They're watching. So what you're saying is that if you're at the picture theatre and you're watching a certain type of movie, your breath may be different to another type. Please explain.
Well, let's just talk about breath in general, because there's times we know when people have been eating garlic, for instance, it's on their breath. And, of course, breathalyzers are used to work out how much alcohol is in a body. There's actually about 200 different volatiles in your breath. And it has been known for even 2,000 years. I mean, the Greek Hippocrates actually described that there was the breath of death, and this has actually now been identified as being people who are in the late stages of liver disease, and they have a breath that says they're in trouble. And of course, dogs are used to identify people's breath when they've got cancer, and that's a fairly new development. So certainly there are things in the breath which are interesting, but the question is, what is normal, and also what is not only what is normal, but what elements change with different sensations. And so rather than try and sample lots of individual people, there was a group in Germany who decided, well, let's just get a large group of people together and sample their collective breath and just see how that changes. And they did this in a cinema. And they ran this for several weeks, and they could monitor certainly carbon dioxide. It's a classic one, part of what we breathe. But also there are others. There's acetone, which comes out, and that's part of the breakdown of fats. And there's another one, isoprene, which comes from making cholesterol. And so these are fairly standard things. And they monitored they monitored one theatre, so they got different movies, and movies that people might be out there watching, Hunger Games, the Catching Fire, and The Hobbit, the Desolation of Smaug, so they had a few, and they found systematics. They could get the smell of popcorn and cordial,
as you do, yes,
well-known brand of cordial, but they started to find little peaks in some of these signatures, and those particular three are three that they have concentrated on. And I should say that this is a magazine that not most people are going to. I got this from a magazine that not most people are subscribing to. It's Physics World, and it's
come on!
It's
I'm
the latest edition.
No! Don't make sweeping statements like that.
It's in every doctor's surgery.
I think Physics World would. When I walk into a news agency, I look at. Do I buy my dirt bike magazine? No, I'm great. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so they monitored this, and they found that there were some peaks. And so in order to try and track that, they then got 30-second grabs of what was happening. And what's come out of this is really interesting, because in a particular, I don't want to spoil any movie, so I'm not going to give anything away.
No, don't be a spoiler.
There was certainly in one movie there's a final battle scene. In another case, there's a piece of clothing catches fire, and both of these cause a rise in those particular parameters I talked about. The acetone and the isoprene and the carbon dioxide, and they're able to start to monitor different scenes against how these signals changed. And it was quite interesting, because there were some scenes where, clearly there was linked to emotion somehow.
So are we talking here potentially happy breath, scared breath, excited, they would change depending on what's happening within a certain scene in the movie?
Emotional breath, let's say.
Okay.
Because two of the things that, it really predicted very well, things like suspense or comedy, but it was actually lousy on chase and romance.
Oh, really? No love breath?
No, there wasn't in this sort of collective breath of everyone. So it's interesting, because I guess from a point of view of analysing a collection of people, you've got an opportunity, you've got a signature now to identify those particular parameters, but also means you've now got an average over a large population, and you can see the differences with individuals. So it allows you to start to diagnose medical problems. But I guess whenever these tools get created, we've got to be a little bit careful, because who knows? We may actually start to see marketers out there,
Exactly
monitoring breath,
right.
trying to change things a bit. But it's interesting that someone's gone to this trouble to get a large database of information, and it always throws up the things you expect, but more interestingly are the things that you don't expect. It's
Exactly.
great when you get something validated, but when you get something that's different, in this case the issue between chase and romance as opposed to suspense and comedy, it makes you go, why? And that's what a scientist does.
And we've got no answers to that yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. They're still working on
What you need to do is get the next edition of Physics Monthly or Weekly?
Physics World.
Physics World, sorry. We'll keep our...
It comes out every month.
Oh, fantastic. There you go. And look, or visit it at your local doctor's surgery. That is fantastic. Professor John O'Connor, thanks for your time.
No worries.